Everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this webinar at Mishcon Durare Apprenticeships for 2022. My name's Tom Wicksteed. I'm the Early Careers Manager at Mishcon Durare. And some of you are watching this webinar live, and welcome and thank you for coming along. Please feel free. This is meant to be interactive, so add any questions that you have to the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We're also recording this webinar and we're putting it on our website. So welcome to those who are watching it on our website. Hopefully this will be an opportunity for you to have all your questions answered. We are going to structure the day, or the next kind of 45 minutes. I'm going to give you a brief overview about Mishcon Durare for those of you who don't know about the firm. And then I will talk about our apprenticeships. Just to say up front, we are a law firm, so we have also some legal apprenticeships, but the recruitment process for that won't start until the autumn, so September 2022. So today is very much focused on our non-legal apprenticeships, which I'll talk all about those. I'll talk briefly about the application process, and then we have two of our apprentices who have kindly offered to join this afternoon, and they will be able to answer any of your questions and give you a bit of a flavour about their journey and how they ended up as an apprentice. So let's start. Brief history of Mishcon Durare. I know that we've got lots of this on our website, so you can go into more detail. I will just give you a brief overview. This guy here is someone called Victor de Mishcon. He set up Mishcon Durare back in 1937 in this little office, that white building that you can see on that picture. That's in Brixton. And over the next, 80, 90 years, the firm's grown dramatically, and now it is run by James Libson, this guy here, who's our managing partner, and we're in slightly bigger offices in Holborn, which is pretty central near Covent Garden for anyone who doesn't know London that well. Well, I guess one of the really nice things about Mishcon that's worth mentioning here is that everyone is in one building or two buildings right next to each other, or the vast majority of the firm are in these two buildings. So there's a real kind of sense of community, and that's obviously not been there for the last 2 years during COVID, while we've been all working from home, but people are starting to come back to the office, and that community, that kind of office culture is coming back, which is great. We are known as a firm that takes on really interesting, exciting cases. There are so many that are going on at the moment and that have gone on in the last few years, but just to mention a few big cases that we've done in the last few decades. I guess one that got us quite well known back in the 90s was the divorce, Princess Diana's divorce with Prince Charles, and the gentleman next to Princess Diana there is someone called Anthony Julius, who is now our chairman. So that happened obviously a long time ago, but really got us in the public eye. And a few years later, there was another really interesting case, and it was about a guy called David Irving, who was a historian. And he was accused by Deborah Libstadt, who is this professor, of being a Holocaust denier. He wrote lots of novels kind of denying the Holocaust, and he sued Deborah Libstadt for libel. And we defended Deborah Libstadt against him, won the case, and they actually made it into a film a few years ago. I think it was 2019. It's still on, I think, Netflix or Amazon Prime, so definitely one to have a look at if you are applying to the firm and want to do a bit of research. Really good film, interesting case. And also in 2019, or 2016 and 2019, all the Brexit stuff was happening, and we were quite heavily involved. I'm sure you guys know the person on the right, Boris Johnson. The person on the left is Gina Miller, and we represented Gina Miller when she took the government to court in 2019. I don't know whether some of you may remember during Brexit, the government were trying to shut down Parliament, or called the prorogation of Parliament. And we represented Gina Miller, who was trying to stop this happening. And it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land. So it was really high profile in the news all the time. It was a very exciting one to watch. And then last year, well, last couple of years, we've been involved in lots of cases around COVID and everything that's come off the back of that. And I guess one of the most high profile cases to do with COVID was something called the FCA test case. The FCA, you can see in that photo, stands for the Financial Conduct Authority. And it was all about small businesses that were struggling to claim money from their insurers when their businesses were interrupted because of COVID. They had to shut down their businesses, and lots of insurers weren't paying their claims because they said, oh, you know, it's COVID, it's not covered. And we represented about 350 small businesses. And again, that was a case that went all the way up through the courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court. Really interesting case to follow last year. So it's a firm that takes on really interesting high profile cases. I know that lots of you here are not applying to be lawyers, but even as a non-lawyer, it's really interesting to follow what the firm is doing. In terms of the firm, we're a law firm. We've got lots of legal departments. And another thing that Mishcon's quite well known for is having a real breadth of legal services that we offer. Some law firms focus on one specific type of law, but we've got this real breadth of different practice areas that we can offer our clients. So here are some of them. We've got litigation. This is when you are resolving a dispute in court. That's called litigations. That makes up a big part of our firm. And then we've got other departments with corporate, so dealing with businesses and real estate when clients are buying or selling property. We've got a private department that's dealing with private individuals, often quite high, quite wealthy clients and their legal needs. We've got an employment team that look after employees and employers and some of the challenges that they face. And last year we set up an innovation department, which is all around technology and embracing kind of some of the new sectors in the UK economy and supporting these high growth areas of our economy. So a real breadth of legal services. And also we have two offices. So I mentioned about that office in London, which is where most of our staff are based. So we have about 1,100 members of staff at Mishcon de Reya, which has been growing quite a lot recently. Most of them are in our London office, but we've also opened an office in Singapore and also in Hong Kong. So they're two growing areas of the firm focusing on Asia. Now, I said that there were about 1,100, a bit over that in terms of the number of staff at Mishcon. We're a law firm, so lots of those people are lawyers, but about between 500 and 550 are not lawyers. And they form what we call the business operation side of the firm. So everything that supports the lawyers. And that is where all of our apprenticeships are based, the ones that I'm talking about today. So some of our non-legal departments, things like finance, HR, technology. So that could be our IT function, but also our kind of growing tech sector within the firm. Business development. So business development can include things like marketing and PR and communications. And we have a business development team that go and bid for new work with clients. So that's a really important part of the firm. Strategy, thinking about the direction of the firm and the data. And finally, legal operations. So legal operations, I guess traditionally was seen as a team of PAs, personal assistants, but that has changed a lot over the last few years. And it's a really large and really important part of the firm. And there are lots of other departments, but I just wanted to show you some of them. And all of these departments, we've got apprentices in, and quite a few of them, we have new apprenticeship roles for 2022. One other thing I wanted to mention, which is so important at Mishcon de Reya, are our core values. You'll see it on the website. You can go and have a look at our core values there. But we often talk at Mishcon about being a values-led firm. So every decision, business decision, strategic decision is based around our values and making sure that it always aligns with our values. So if you're applying for a role, I think this is a really important thing to look at, to make sure you understand what makes Mishcon Mishcon, what are these values, and do they align with your values and your personal values? Because I think it's really important that our employees and our apprentices really believe in these values too. So I won't go into lots of detail, but the first one is all about providing really high quality legal services, it says here. But actually, I'm in HR and all the apprenticeships that I'm talking about today are non-legal. But it's really important that all the non-legal members of staff are also providing this really high quality service. But instead of directly to clients, our service will be to the legal teams. So it's really important, if you're applying for an apprenticeship role, thinking about, if I went going for a role in finance, what does really high quality service look like in a finance department, and how could I show Mishcon that I would be able to offer that high quality service. You know, it's really important that we think about that, and it's worth thinking about before any interviews or applications that you go for. The second one is around our culture, and our culture focuses a lot on diversity. We think it's really important. We don't want just lots of the same type of people. We want people from different backgrounds, different races, different gender, different experiences, different, I don't know, maybe gone to different universities or study different subjects, like a diversity of thought as well. And it's all about making sure that we allow everyone to be themselves at the firm, and that respect for the individual, you can see there, and that we empower individuals. And that links through to the next core value, which is always thinking about new ideas. What is the next thing that the firm should be doing? And I think that links, we've got that empower individual point on that previous core value, but that means that we're empowering individuals to come up with ideas. And we try to create this kind of open door culture at Mishcon, that anyone at whatever level, in whatever department, if you've got an idea, if you think things could be done better or differently or more creatively, then you should be able to come up with those ideas and put them to your line manager, and hopefully take the firm forward. So it's all about thinking about the future. The next one is, we're a law firm. It's all about integrity. Our clients pay money to us for our knowledge and our integrity, and being frank with them, telling them exactly you know, what we recommend they do, or the implications if they made a legal decision. But even though that's thinking about the lawyers, again, it's still really important in the non-legal services as well, that we act with integrity and that we are honest. And you can see down there, teamwork and mutual support. It's such a supportive culture at Mishcon. It's obviously been challenging with COVID and everyone working from home, but we do everything we can to try and make sure that we work as a team and we support everyone. And that especially goes for supporting apprentices. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Finally, building a sustainable, well-managed and profitable business. Now, sustainable is about, you know, creating a firm that will last for many years, but also we care a lot about environment and the sustainability in terms of how we operate, and making sure that we are a purpose-driven firm. So we're making sure that we, you know, look out for the environment and our environmental impact. Now, I won't go into any more detail, but I just want to emphasize those core values, and hopefully it will give you an idea of the culture at Mishcon and what we look for in our apprentices as well. Just a reminder, if you have any questions, please do put them into the Q&A, and we will, I'll definitely make sure I answer them by the end of the presentation. So that was a little bit about Mishcon as a firm. I now want to talk about the apprenticeship programs for this year. You can see there, this is just a quick chart to show that we've had apprentices for quite a few years now, back since 2016. You can see how much they've been growing over the last few years. The orange bars in this bar chart show our non-legal apprentices, and the grey bars show our legal, our solicitor or legal apprentices. So you can see the non-legal apprentices have been around for far longer than the legal ones. And we've had apprentices in every single department in the firm, and every year we go and speak to the business and say, where else could we put an apprentice? And you can see in 2022 we have 11 new apprenticeship roles, non-legal apprenticeship roles in Mishcon. So it's really exciting, and they are in finance, technology, business development, and legal operations. So what I would suggest, I'm not going to go through every single one in lots of detail, but these are on our website. So if you go and have a look at our job opportunities, you'll be able to find our apprenticeship roles, and they're on our website. There are links to these roles. So have a look at the job specification. It will give you a lot more detail about every single one of the programs. So we have one in the finance team, which is commercial finance. There's one position available there. It's a 24-month contract. So with our apprentices, we have a specific period of time that you will be an apprentice. So in this case, 24 months, and you'll do your qualification. And in this case, it's the accounts assistant qualification, which is a level 4 apprenticeship qualification. And then at the end of the 24 months, we'll review and see how you got on, and see if you have enjoyed your time at Mishcon, and hopefully we try and make as many of our apprentices permanent after that, those 24 months. The finance team has grown so much and is growing a lot at the moment. It's a really exciting team to be part of if you are interested in a career in finance or accounting. So definitely one to have a look at. In technology, we've got 5 roles. 4 of them are in our service response team, our IT service response team. Now, this is one of our longest serving programs that we've got. And what happens is we bring our apprentices into this IT service desk role, and it's a really good way to understand all the basics foundation of the tech infrastructure at Mishcon de Reya. And then as you progress through, you can go off into lots of exciting different departments. So it's a real kind of funnel of growth and development opportunity there for apprentices. We've got 4 roles there. We've also got a tech role as a systems analyst. So this is all about managing and implementing new systems within the firm. And we've got lots of new systems coming into the firm over the next few years. So that will be a really busy role. And then we have in business development, we've got digital marketing. So we have an apprentice called Maya who is joining us in later on, and he has just finished the digital marketing apprenticeship. And we've got 2 more roles opening this year. And we also have one in events. Obviously, events went down a little bit over the last few years during COVID. We couldn't do all these exciting events at the office, but now it's all coming back. So there is an opportunity for someone who's interested in getting involved in event management. Again, it's a 1 role, 18 months duration, and the qualification is events assistant, a level 3 qualification. And finally, legal operations. The one that I said traditionally was personal assistants, PAs. Now there are lots of different new opportunities and new roles within that team. It's a really large and growing team, lots of amazing people who have been around for a long time, lots of really good support. We're offering 2 roles as a practice administrator. And the really nice thing about this course is that you get to do the business administrator qualification, but also we add on some of the modules for a paralegal qualification. So it may be something that someone who's interested in the legal sector may be interested in doing a bit more, becoming a paralegal in the future. So there we go, 11 new roles for this year. Lots more detail on the website if you're interested and want to have a look at more specifics around any of those. Go and have a look at our apprenticeship pages. Next, I just want to talk about the things that we offer to all of our apprentices, whether you are in finance or HR or tech, it doesn't matter. The most important thing, I mean, the whole basis of an apprenticeship is that we bring in individuals early on in their career, and it's all about development, about building your knowledge of finance or events or legal operations, and constantly developing you. Now, some of this will come from the apprenticeship training provider. So to do the apprenticeship qualification, we have relationships with about 5 different really trusted apprenticeship providers that we've worked with for quite a few years, and they will teach you. You'll have tutors there, and they will teach you all of the information you need to pass all the exams and gain that qualification. And the way the apprenticeship is structured is that 20% of your time, so effectively 1 day a week, is off the job training. So you don't have to come to the office. It's a day completely focused on you and your studies and working with that training provider. We think it's really important to make sure that that day is protected, and that you won't be getting emails from your team. You're just there to study and focus on your qualification. And your tutors will be going through the modules. Like most of the qualifications are based around modules. So you do a module for a few months, and then you do a small exam or maybe a project or an essay that you submit, and then you go on to the next module, can continue on through until you've finished the whole apprenticeship. So that will happen throughout the apprenticeship with your training provider. And then also Mishcon de Re, we do lots of training internally to support all of our apprentices. So when you first start, we have a whole week induction, which is dedicated to telling you all about the firm and everything that it does and all the systems that you need to be able to use, all the different parts of the firm. Lots of apprentices, this may be your first ever job or kind of corporate job. So we talk all about kind of office etiquette and how to kind of a professional manner in the work environment. So we cover that in that week-long induction. And then when you join your team, there will be constant training, on the job training with your team, and you'll be learning, you'll be shadowing, you'll be working with your line manager, and they'll be supporting you and building up your confidence and teaching you more and more about the day job. And then also we have the Mishcon Academy. So the Academy is our in-house place of learning or learning department. And this supports all the lawyers and all the non-lawyers. And it's got a whole suite of courses that go on throughout the year. Some of it is legal training. Lots of it is non-legal training as well. And we make sure that the apprentices have lots of training courses and lots of academy sessions that they can join to help with their professional development. So lots and lots of development. That is the basis of our apprenticeship programs, is to bring in really motivated apprentices and to support you and develop you throughout those 18 months. Next, I just want to talk about how you will be supported. I've talked about the training provider, so the external provider that will be helping you with your studies. For each one of those modules, you'll have a tutor. So the tutors will be there, they'll be teaching you the content, and those tutors may change for each module. But then you also have a coach, a skills coach, and that skills coach will be constant throughout the 18 months, and they're there to support you with your learning. If you're struggling, if you're finding like struggling to, I don't know, balance work life, and you've got lots on in your day job and you're struggling to find time to study, they can help you, they can support you. As part of the apprenticeship, you also have to write up a detailed kind of diary of everything that you've been learning, and the skills coach will support you with that. And then at Mishcon, we have a long list of things that we do to try and support our apprentices. The first thing is we set you up with a buddy. So a buddy will be another apprentice who's already at the firm, probably a year ahead of you, and they're there to kind of just show you the ropes. If you're not really sure what you're meant to be doing, where you're meant to be going, how to use email or how to book a holiday, your buddy's there. They've been through it. They know what it's like to be an apprentice. So they are there to support you. We also make sure that our apprentices all start together at the same time. So, well, the majority of our apprentices will start in October, and you start as a group. And we do that on purpose because we think it's really important that the group's there to support each other. Even though one of you may be in finance, one of you may be in legal operations, another one in events, another one in marketing, you're still all apprentices and you're all there to support each other. So that's a really important group to focus on. You've then got your line manager. So everyone will have a line manager or a supervisor, and they're there to really help you on a day-to-day basis and tell you what work you need to do. And if you're not sure, you don't understand, or you need some help, they're there to help you. And obviously you've got my team, the early careers team. We are effectively your HR support. So we're there to support you with everything. If you're having an amazing time and you want to tell us how great everything's going, we want to hear. If you're struggling and you're not having a good time, we're here to support you and get you back on track. So anything HR related, the early careers team are here to support you. And then another thing that I just wanted to mention is that within the apprenticeship groups, cohorts, we ask for volunteers. We've got some social secretaries to set up socials this year. And we will also have impact reps. So impact are thinking about how, as an apprenticeship group, can we do more to maybe raise money for charity. We've got some of our apprentices who have decided to run an event to deal with the Ukraine crisis at the moment, and raise money for that charity. And we also have well-being reps. So that's where they ask about the apprentices, what can we do more to help with your well-being and support all of the apprentices. So there's lots of opportunity for you to get involved outside your job and get involved in like organizing socials or organizing kind of fundraising or organizing to improve the well-being of all of our apprentices. So lots of support. The next thing I want to talk about is the application process. So the application process is slightly different depending on which role you're going for, but the basic structure is you'll start off with an application form or a CV, which will be sent through to Mishcon, and we'll have a look through, and those that we decide have the necessary skills or the attributes that we're looking for, we'll then invite through to the next stage. And the second stage could be an interview, or it could be a more kind of a slightly longer assessment morning or an assessment day, including an interview. But that's the basic two-step process: an application stage and then the interview or assessment stage. And I just wanted to give you a few hints and tips on these stages. I definitely, with the application and the CV, I think one of the things that we see quite often from candidates that struggle to get through to the next stage is where they just haven't, there is quite a thin CV. They haven't put much in it. So they haven't told us everything about themselves. We want to know about you. We want to know, about, yes, your grades and your academics, but we also want to know about what your hobbies are and what your passions are, and what your other interests, where your other interests lie. So, and then maybe some work experience that you've done in the past. And don't think that, I don't know, you've worked in a bar for a couple of years or worked in a shop and you're like, well, that's got nothing to do with being a finance apprentice, so I won't put it down. We would always say, put it down, because it's really important that we see what work experience you have been doing. If you've worked in a bar, then that's all about working with customers, and building up those communication skills. That's really important for an apprenticeship role. So definitely put down everything that you've done over the last few years, or maybe projects at school where you've worked as a team or where you've led a team. Everything like that should go into your application form or your CV. What makes you stand out against the other candidates that have applied for this role? The next thing is research. You know, you may be applying for lots of different apprenticeships, which is fine, and we understand that. But you know, if you're applying for one at Mishcon de Reya, when it comes to an interview or an assessment day, make sure that you've researched Mishcon de Reya. Have a look at our website. Make sure you've looked at everything on the front page. That's basically telling you everything that we think is important and we want the external world to know. So make sure you've looked at the front page. Have a look at the About Us page. Have a look even in more detail if you can, but try and do as much research on the website as possible. I've already given you a big hint about the core values and how important they are for us, so make sure you know those and you can talk about those in any interview or assessment day. Have a look on the news. Put in Google Mishcon de Reya. You can set up Google alerts, which will send you emails about anything to do with Mishcon de Reya. So if you've got an interview or an assessment day in like a week's time, maybe set up a Google alert so you can see exactly what Mishcon's been up to over the last few days. Really good way of showing that you're interested in the firm and interested in a role at Mishcon. So do your research. Then if you're doing an interview, when I've ever done interviews, I always try and sit down and write a list of all the questions that I think I could be asked. You can go on Google and you can have a look for, you know, basic interview questions that people are often asked. But what I often say to candidates is put yourself in our position. Like if we were interviewing you, what do you think we would want to know about you? So try and write a list of all the questions that you think you could be asked, and then write down what your answers or some of the key bullet points that you'd want to put into your answer for any of those questions. So I think, and maybe do interview practice with your parents or a sibling or mates, like maybe get them to pick some of those questions that you've written down and ask you, and then you can practice giving a really good answer. So do your practice. It will really make a massive difference on the day, give you that confidence. When it does come to the day and you do an interview or you do an assessment day, we know that it's nerve-wracking. We've all done it before, like everyone in at Mishcon, we've all done interviews. So we know that it's nerve-wracking, but the more practice you can do, the more research, the better prepared you'll be. But, you know, it's okay to make a mistake on the day. If you do make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Just kind of brush yourself off and keep going. We won't mark you down just for making a mistake, or if you say, well, actually, I made a mistake there, this is what I meant to say, that's absolutely fine. So don't worry about that. And finally, just be yourself. You know, Mishcon is, it's a really lovely place to work. It's a really supportive culture here. And we want, you saw on one of our core values about being yourself, the importance of, you know, valuing the individual. So it's really important that you just tell us. We don't, some people try and say what they think we want to hear rather than what they actually feel about maybe a question in an interview. We'd much rather you just told us like really what your thoughts are, or really what you like to do in your free time. Don't think, oh, what should I say? Just say, well, this is what I'm passionate about. We'd much rather we have people who are passionate about something than just trying to say the right thing in an interview. So be yourself. It's really, really important. So I have talked for a good half hour, and what I want to do is stop sharing, and I'm going to bring in two of our apprentices. So we've got Maya and Renee. I don't know whether you guys can turn your cameras on and unmute yourself if you are there. Maya and Renee. There we go, Maya. Hello.
Hello.
So thanks guys for coming along. What I'm going to do is just hand over, maybe Maya, you could go first and just tell everyone about the team you're in, what stage you are in the apprenticeship, and kind of your journey, why you decided to do an apprenticeship.
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone. My name is Mayo. I'm in the digital marketing team and I'm working as a digital marketing apprentice. And as you already may have heard, I've completed my apprenticeship now, just about a month ago. So currently I'm still working under an apprenticeship contract, but I will be staying on. So that's great news. And how I got here, I think must have been lockdown. I joined at a very difficult time during lockdown, and I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do. And I still wanted to be in education after college. So I decided to go for an apprenticeship as my style of learning and my style of working aligns more with the apprenticeship route rather than uni attending lectures, staying at home and writing essays. It wasn't really my style of how to learn and how to kind of develop myself. So I went on to one of the apprenticeship providers' websites called Multiverse, who I did my course with. I applied through there and eventually I got a role that was actually created for me, specifically for me, which I took in November 2020. And then from there, I joined the team. I settled in very quickly. And from there onwards, it's just been really good. And the reason, again, as to why I joined was mainly because I knew from an apprenticeship route, I'd be able to learn a lot more about what I wanted to do. So digital marketing, I learned around CRM, website, email marketing, social media, etc. And even till this day, even after I've completed it, I'm still learning it till now, so that I can carry it on throughout the next few years.
That's great. Thanks so much, Maya. I'll come back to you with some questions after, but Renee, maybe you want to talk through your journey as well.
Of course. Hi, I'm Renee. I am the People Team Apprentice in the People Team, which is Mishcon's HR team, is what you could call it. I started in October 2021, so I'm fairly new. I went down this route. I left college during the pandemic. Everything was closed. I wanted to work and also get back into studying because there was not many opportunities about, and I searched high and low for a HR apprenticeship and I discovered this one. It was one of my units in college. I studied travel and tourism and I just thought, yeah, this is for me, and here I am now. So yeah.
That's great. Renee, can you talk about a bit about the like the application process? Like how was it? Was it really stressful? Was it scary? Like any tips on like how to prepare for like, or how to write your application form, or how to prepare for like an interview?
I absolutely hate interviews. I was really nervous because I really wanted to get this one. Obviously, the first step was just the application. I think I had to upload my CV from what I remember. A couple months later, I think I got an email saying I moved on to the next step, which was the assessment day, which was an all-day thing with Tom. And I had to do a couple of assessments online, which was really nerve-wracking. And I told myself beforehand just to be myself. I usually make the mistake of over-preparing and trying to plan what I think they want to hear. And I said to myself, no, do you know what? Think what you would genuinely say if it was face-to-face. And I didn't put too much pressure on myself. And I think I smashed it and stayed true to myself. And definitely researched the company just because it makes you realize why you genuinely want it. So then your answers are basically true. You're not lying and just trying to get a job just for the sake of it. So yeah.
That's great. And Maya, do you remember I know it was a while back now, but do you remember your recruitment process and how that went, and how you have any tips on how to prepare for it?
Again, the whole process was during the pandemic, during a very hard time as well back in 2020. And again, I applied through the apprenticeship provider's website. And from there, you just have to talk about yourself, write about why you want to apply for the apprenticeship. And luckily, within a month's time, I heard back from Mishcon, so now they would like to invite me to an interview / assessment day. And again, with preparation, like Renee said, you've got to really research deep into Mishcon and kind of understand why you want this role and not just for the sake of it, because they will test you. It's not just like, oh, I'll just wing it. Like, you have to really show that you want it and that you're a great fit for the role. And although unfortunately my initial assessment day, I didn't get through, but a few months down the line, they had contacted me back saying, you would also be a great addition to the team. And here's a role for you if you would like to take it. And of course I took it because I really wanted it, especially in the pandemic. And I just wanted to continue to like work and also learn. And yeah, so obviously with that, it didn't just stop there. I also had to have an interview with my now line manager about why I want this role, why would I be a great fit, what have I done previously in previous jobs or even at school. And from there onwards, we hit the ground running with it, and then here I am. Yeah.
You mentioned, Mayor, about like everything happening during COVID. So kind of in terms of like working from home, when you first started, it was all working from home, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally everything from starting my apprenticeship, work from home. Yeah, everyone was starting from home. So
What's it like
everyone
now?
that
Sorry,
compared
I was
to
going to say, yeah. Like, is that changed? And like, how does it work in terms of how many days you work from home and how many days?
so obviously when I first started, you just had to work from home 5 days a week, sorry. Whereas compared to now, I at least go into the office twice a week. Just so I normally try to plan when my actual team are going in, so then we can all go in together and I can actually socialise my team as well as work with them. And then 3 days a week I work from home. So at least with Mishcon, they give you like a proper good hybrid of work from home, and so it's a good balance, I would say. Yeah.
What about you, Renee? You work. How much are you in the office at the moment? You kind of doing a bit of hybrid.
Yeah, so our team have decided to go in every Wednesday. We are now all making an effort to come in twice a week, and then I think next month we'll up it to 3 times a week. So yeah, it just depends on where my team is, because you kind of want that bonding. So you want to go in when everyone else is in. So yeah.
And then when you're in, or like on a day-to-day basis, how does it work with the kind of like the support and like who do you talk to on a day-to-day basis in terms of like a line manager or supervisors or mentors? Like, how does that all work?
So I speak to my line manager a couple times a week. We have a meeting almost every day just to catch up and, see how I'm doing. When we're in the office, we'll go for a coffee or book a meeting room. I have a daily meeting with one of my colleagues. She just makes sure I've always got stuff to do, trains me on basically anything new I can possibly do as I go through the months. And yeah, the support is always there, as they know I'm an apprentice and I've had no HR experience at all. So everyone's very supportive, and if I need help, they're always there. So yeah.
And May, a question about work-life balance, or maybe work-life study balance, because you've got kind of 3 things to juggle, right? So how do you juggle, getting your studies in, doing the day job, and getting some time to yourself in the evenings and weekends?
I think, again, at the start of the pandemic, it was a lot easier, mainly because you couldn't go out, so you could only stay at home. So you'd write primary, you study from home, but as we progress out of here, for me, it's been quite easy, as again, you only go to the office twice a week. And in terms of social-wise, if you're going to socialise with your colleagues, you can always meet after work or you meet during work. And most of my personal life, obviously, I spend it on the weekend. And in terms of studies, like Tom said earlier on, you get once a week to yourself, just dedicated all to yourself, so no one disturbs you. So I used to have my Wednesdays as my off-the-job training, so I spend it on there. And if I had extra work to do, also I'll just complete it after my work hours or on the weekend if I'm free. So it's a pretty good balance.
And then how does it work for that day? Like in terms of like, how do you interact with the training provider, which you said was one of our training providers called Multiverse that you're studying with? Like how does that work in terms of them giving you work or doing like lessons and things like that?
Yeah, so again, I can only speak for digital marketing. It might be different for the other teams and departments, but with digital marketing was initially they already set up webinars and boot camps throughout the whole year. So they'll be already in your calendar for, let's say, you start in December, in January, they'll set up a whole week of a boot camp at which you'll attend. And obviously, because of COVID, I had to do it through Zoom, but maybe now you might be able to attend in person. You will also have progress reviews, probably quarterly, with your skills coach and manager, and where you can review your work. And with digital marketing, with that apprenticeship course, we had to create a whole portfolio of our best projects throughout the whole year. Not too sure how it is with the other teams, departments, but with marketing, that's how it was. And near enough every month you would have like a meeting with your skills coach just to talk about what you've done, review if you need to do anything more, anything less, other things you can potentially work on, and just kind of like a catch up to see how you're getting on. So it was kind of a good balance throughout the year. It wasn't just like jam-packed, like every week you have to report back. But of course you do have the access of emailing your school coach if you needed any help, etc.
And Renee, you're with another provider, BPP, aren't you, doing the HR? Is that similar to Mayor's, or is it slightly different in terms of like how they create a study program?
It's slightly different. We have webinars every Tuesday. They're only an hour and a half. They're not every week. There's maybe like a gap for about 2 weeks just for us to complete our assignments. So we've got a practice one that we can do first. We hand that in, which is a part of our main one. We get that back, get some feedback, and then our main one's due, I say 3-4 weeks after that practice one goes in. So yeah, and in terms of the coach, we have like a meeting every 2 months just to, go over everything. So it's kind of similar. But yeah, if you ever need to contact them, you can just email them for help. Like I've got a meeting with my coach tomorrow just to go through an assignment that's due soon. So yeah. And
then just talk about that coach, the tutors and the coaches. Like, what can you talk through, like the difference and like how you?
Yeah. So our webinars is hosted by the tutor. So she basically goes through every bullet point we need for an assignment and talks us through it, basically to prepare us for the assignment. My coach is basically there to go over my tracker. So where you have to input all of the little things you do throughout the year. She goes through that with me, and all of my goals, she basically helps me set them and reach them. She's not really involved as much in the webinars, but she's basically there for support because you can't go to your tutors really for support. They're just there during the webinars. So yeah.
That's great. And what about a day in the life? If I don't know whether it's like the same every day or different every day, Maya, what's kind of, give her kind of a flavor of what a day could look like, maybe today or like at some point like last week.
Yeah, I'll give two examples of one work from home and one from the office. So work from home, I think a lot of people might prefer it because you're at home, you don't have to travel as much and spend money, but work from home, you're basically just as productive and the workload is just the same as in the office. You're still expected to do what you need to do. The expectations are still the same and the quality still needs to be the same. But you may feel inclined to work a bit longer hours just because you're from home. But again, that will be down to you and your team on how you manage that. And again, I'd say if you're working from home, one advice I'd give is try to move around the house a little bit rather than stick in your room all day, because I'd say your room's kind of like your place to kind of rest and chill. So if you're working from here, you might feel a bit drained from here. So a good advice would be to just move around. But if you're in the office, I think, again, I only live around just under an hour away from the office. So the travel's fun with rush hour. But yeah, you get into work, obviously you meet up with your team, colleagues. If you have meetings, it's good because you can always talk to them in person, or you can literally talk to them, turn your chair around, and there they are. Again, get your work done. You can go out for lunch with your colleagues as well, which is fun. Or if you want to go out by yourself, then that's entirely up to you. And then yeah, the afternoons, if you have any meetings, you attend those. Again, continue doing your work. And yeah, so I feel like both work from home and working in the office, you both have to kind of manage your time well and have to like stick to your quality of productivity.
That's great. Thanks, Maya. And Renee, just a question about like making that transition from, you said you were at college before and then kind of moving into like a corporate world. Like, what was that transition like? And how have you have you got any tips on like how to deal with that change in culture?
It was exciting, if you want an honest truth. I was a waitress for 2 years before this, and you had no life. The hours, you had no nights, you had no weekends. And I feel like coming into this, you have your set hours, you have Monday to Friday, and it was exciting to have time to spend with my family and focus more on work as well. I think I was too excited to even think about it, so I don't know how to advise people. I guess enjoy it. And it was a bit daunting. I don't know anything about a law firm. I came in, and I think for the first week I went around to, well, my team anyways, trying to understand everybody's roles, how a law firm is built up. I'd kind of get advice from everybody else just so I can understand the formation of a law firm, which helped. Now I understand it, and it makes my work a lot easier because I know, who I'm talking to and who I need to go to for certain things. So definitely network. I'd recommend that. It helped me a lot. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Renee. And just conscious of time, Maya, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot here, but what is the best and maybe not worst or the most challenging thing about like the apprenticeship so far?
The best thing, I'll start with the least best thing. Okay, that's going to be really hard. I think it is. I think any apprenticeship is challenging. You just have to put your mind to it and just kind of continue with it. It's not any easier than uni. I think that's one thing you've got to realise, whether you're doing coursework or assignments, there's still, the expectations are still there. At the end of the day, your team and even Mishcon itself, they're investing in you to do your best, and they're basically developing you to be like a proper executive or assistant, etc. And so the work will have to be put in, and you can't just be slacking around. And the best thing is, I think everyone's very welcoming at Mishcon. I think especially whether you're joining at a really bad time or a good time, they make sure that you're settling really well. Again, like Renee said, it's good to network around, which made it really easy because everyone was easy to get along with. And whenever you need the help, it's there, whether it's early careers, your team, or even other departments that you need to work with, everyone's there for you, especially if they know you're an apprentice. They will also want the best for you as well, which is really good. So, and that's why I think a lot of us have managed to succeed here at the end of our course, due to the amount of support and help that we received throughout the whole duration of our course.
Amazing. Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot with that one.
That's all right.
Renee, if you had to give like one or two like top tips to like a candidate about like just thinking about like going into an apprenticeship or like the application process, like what would you say, like looking back on your time so far?
Don't be nervous, because obviously everyone at Mishcon is so friendly and welcoming and understanding. Don't feel like you're being judged at all. You can obviously get that feeling from certain workplaces, and you don't ever get that from here. So don't be nervous, and also just be yourself. You don't need to change to be anybody. You don't need to, be fake. Just be yourself. No one's judging you. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, both of you. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we've answered most of the questions. I'm just going to finish with one last slide, if I just share my screen again, just in terms of timelines. So hopefully you can see my screen again. Today is the 8th of March, which is when this event, I know some of you may be watching it on the website. But our roles are going to be open during March and April, depending on the roles that you apply for. They're going to they'll close in March and April, to have a look on the job specs for the closing dates, and then after the closing date, then we'll go through all the applications and the CV, and we'll invite candidates through to interviews and any assessment days, and they'll happen in April and May time, and then hopefully we will make our offers in April and May, or by the end of May we'll have made our offers. Now those offers will be to start at Mishcon de Reya in October, so there's quite a gap, like you've got the whole of the summer, and in those months we don't kind of just keep quiet. Like we've got this future joiner program, so we'll be keeping in touch and sending you lots of emails and inviting you to events, and hopefully doing a social between now and October. And then you guys will all start, I think it's going to be either the 2nd or 3rd week of October, but we'll obviously let you know if you've got an offer, and you'll start your apprenticeship. And then, as I said earlier, that first week will be your induction, and then you will meet your apprenticeship provider, and you'll start your studying, and you'll meet your team, and you'll meet your buddies, and you'll go from there. So that is it for this webinar. Hopefully we've answered everyone's or most of your questions. Feel free to email the early careers team if you have any other questions that we haven't answered. We're really happy to have a chat or email you back, and really hope that has encouraged you to apply, and look forward to seeing your CVs and applications coming through in the next few weeks. Maya and Renee, thank you so much for coming along this afternoon. And yeah, thanks everyone. Have a nice evening.